Lippe.
Classic instruments and stuff like that. They're not made to be smashed, they're made to be played, you know.
The Flaming Lips aus Oklahoma City haben 5 LPs, eine Maxi-Single, eine limitierte Sub-Pop-Single und ein paar skurrile Aufnahmen für diverse Fanzines veröffentlicht. Kurz gesagt geht es ihnen darum, möglichst aufsehenerregend aus Oklahoma City heraus den Highway zur Hölle zu fahren, dorthin, wo alle guten Bands landen. Alles Weitere erfahrt ihr in den folgenden 50 Minuten. Die Geschichte der Brüder, according to the Gospel, The Flaming Lips.
1, 2, 3.
Wayne ist ein großer Geschichtenerzähler vor dem Herrn. Wayne ist, man glaubt es nicht, wenn man die Plattencover kennt, ein recht hübscher Junge mit 26 Jahren. Wild gestikulierend und in der blumenreichen 4-Buchstaben-Wörtersprache übertönt er problemlos den Soundcheck, Telefonklingeln und ratternde Faxgeräte. Auch hier zeigt sich der Nutzen der großen Lippe. Wayne hat 5 Brüder. Gemeinsam hörte man merkwürdige Musik und nahm Drogen. So stand der Musik in einer ansonsten nichtsbietenden Stadt wie Oklahoma nichts mehr im Wege.
I have a lot of brothers. I have 5 brothers. And they know a lot of people who do drugs and listen to weird music. And I have, a little brother who knew a bunch of people. And I just decided, well, one day, let's be a band. We would see bands come through. And we would talk to them. And we decided, well, let's do that. We don't have anything to do. We have no lives. There's nothing that we're going to do in the future. There's nothing. We have no skills. And it seemed like rock and roll. That's what we can do.
Vor 5, 6 Jahren also begründete Wayne seine Existenz als Bandleader mit einem Nichts an Wissen und Können und mit dem einzigen Punk aus Oklahoma City, Mike. Schon 3 Monate später wurde auf dem eigenen Label eine Platte veröffentlicht. was den Flaming Lips noch mehr Hass von Konkurrenzveranstaltern und sonstigen Neidern einbrachte. Heute sitzen die Flaming Lips am längeren Hebel, wenn sie $15 Eintritt nehmen können.
And then they make a record sooner or later. We just wanted to be a band and make a record and see the world, you know.
And did people care about this, about the Flaming Lips as a band, or did
you mean there?
Yeah.
Oh no, they hated us because they knew we couldn't play. I mean, we weren't guys that hung out with musicians. They saw us come in and they wouldn't let us ever play. But we had a record, and nobody else had a record. Our record was getting played in Europe, you know. And they hated us even more, you know? And now when we play, we charge those same people who hated us back then $15 to come to see us, you know? And they come and see us. And that's why we don't
Die
care
Lippen
about
könnten
the
aber auch die Köpfe heißen oder The Chrome Leeches. Flaming Lips war einfach nur ein neutraler, von Assoziationen freier Ausdruck, um die angestrebte LP kenntlich zu machen. Live, wie gesagt, spielt man gern Coverversionen und das große Verwirrspiel. Wie hieß die Band nochmal? Chrome Leeches? Nie gehört.
When you have a record, you have to have a name. And then at the time, there was hardcore bands. In America, it was hardcore. If you were a young band, you hated the government, you hated your parents, you shaved your head. And, you know, we were like, well, my folks are all right. I like my folks, you know, and I don't give a shit about the government, you know. So we decided we didn't want a name that was like that. That was like a political name or some negative sort of name. We just thought just any name is better than something that tags you, you know. And so we said, well, Flaming Lips, that sounds good. And we really thought, you know, if no one likes the record, and if everybody gets it, well, that's a horrible name, we would just change it. We have a million names, you know.
What else?
I mean, we play under names that we've played shows, would show up like when bands come through town. Bands that we like, we'll play shows with them. We played under the name The Heads. We call ourselves The Heads, the Chrome Leeches. Just some stupid shit. Just like, you know, no one knows what's going on. They show up and we play and, you know.
But you play your stuff.
That's when we do like the cover songs too. Unfortunately, that's really what we do. We sort of just do whatever songs we want. Yeah. But it's easier to do that than to play as the Flaming Lips because then no one knows that it's you. They just show up and it's like, oh, they get to see us play.
Wayne in Augsburg. Eine Band muss unbedingt an sich selbst denken, nur ja nicht an das Publikum. Am nächsten Tag feiert es nämlich auf dem nächsten Konzert die nächste Band ab, womit Wayne zu rechtfertigen versucht, warum Lippenkonzerte nur theoretisch reines Vergnügen sind. Praktisch sind sie unerträglich. Selbst die schönsten Stücke werden Kraft der Lautstärke dem Erdboden gleichgemacht. Nichts ist mehr verständlich. Als er diese verdammte Stadt auf die Erde schmiss, muss er ganz schön fucked up gewesen sein. Die Lippen spucken Feuer, werfen psychedelische Lichtkringel und Visionen um sich. Früher taten sie das mit einem für eine Underground-Band ungeheuren technischen Aufwand. Heute ist da nur noch Ohren müssen brennen, aber Konzert ist nicht Platte, nicht bei den Lips. Waren die früheren Platten noch erfreuliche akustische Spielzeugungetüme einer Rasselbande, so verlagert man sich immer mehr auf die Kunst des Songwritings, ein immer wieder gern gehörter Begriff, zumal wenn im selben Zusammenhang das Basiswissen des Musikers aufgefahren wird. Nicht Psychedelik, schon gar nicht die immer wieder zitierten Pink Floyd, nicht Sonic Youth, Led Zeppelin und überhaupt keine Szene, like Punk never happened. Die Flaming Lips als unvermeidliches Produkt aus einer hermetisch abgeschlossenen Welt namens Oklahoma City. Sie kamen ganz einfach über uns. Die Popgruppe, die die Klospülung des Rock'n'Roll ins Nirvana überlebte.
We really don't like scene sort of bands because then again it's like it's not so much just the individual people, it's like a whole scene. If you sound like Sonic Youth, you live by Sonic Youth, it's like you're a New York band. It's like I don't care where a band comes from. It doesn't have to be a part of a movement. I mean, I think the Flaming Lips are a band that would have happened regardless whether punk rock ever happened, whether psychedelia ever happened, whether anything ever happened. I think the Flaming Lips would have said, well, let's be a band and do something. We're here no matter what, you know. Even if rock and roll goes down the toilet totally, well, you know. With a lot of our records, we would do just experiments. They wouldn't be songs. It'd just be like, well, let's try this. I don't know, but at the moment we like to do songs. You know? We've always sort of considered what we do as in some vein of pop, you know, whether it's just really fucked up pop music or whatever, you know. I mean, we're a band like most bands. We play electric guitars, drums, and we sing, you know. I think we've always sort of been just a loud pop group, you know. Check it out. That's Dingus. Well, me and Mike used to. We live in Oklahoma, okay, and there's like, you know, trains there. You guys have trains here, but trains there don't carry people. Trains there, like, there's a slaughterhouse there that goes back and forth from like Texas to Kansas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, all these places, 4 states around there.
Wayne und Mike auf dem Weg zwischen Oklahoma und Dallas auf einem Zug. Der Neue in der Band, Dingus, wird auf dem Dach eines Waggons aufgelesen. Nach dem Vorbild Jack London nutzt man diese Art der kostenlosen Beförderung, um beispielsweise ein Konzert von, sagen wir, Cure in Dallas zu sehen. Wie gesagt, Oklahoma, dead as fuck. Die Kühe jedoch, die in diesen Zügen transportiert werden, sind das bedauerlicherweise nicht immer. Sie sollten es aber sein. Die Züge kommen direkt aus dem Schlachthof. Auf einem dieser Rückwege von Dallas nach Oklahoma trifft man sich auf jeden Fall an der frischen Luft und teilt sich ein Dach mit Dingus aus New York. Dingus hatte dasselbe Konzert genauso schlecht gefunden. Das verbindet. Dingus bleibt in Oklahoma.
On the top. Well, when it's nice. You know, when it's nice outside. When it's cold, you just don't do it. But when it's nice, you know, you drive up on top and stuff. And it was, you know, it was a fairly nice night. And we see that there's this guy way down on the other end. We didn't know if it's a guy, but there's something sitting on the other end. And as it goes along, we walk down there, and there he's sitting there. And we're just like, hey, what are you doing? He's like, nothing. I was bored at the show. And we said, yeah, so were we. And so we all just went up to Oklahoma City, and he's just been up there ever since, you know. We met him on these trains, just dicking around. And that's how people get into bands. It's just like they want to do something. You know, he's not a musician. None of us are. That's why it works. You know. But see, these trains are they're slaughterhouse trains. So there's some compartments that have like dead cows in them, and some of them aren't all the way dead. I mean, they're really weird. I mean,
they're still alive.
They're still alive. I mean,
and with a chopped off leg or something.
Yeah, they're just in there butchered. They have like this spike through their head, and you hear. Yeah, I know, it's weird, but you know, when you're bored and it's fun, it's crazy stuff, you know, it's just going down and checking it out.
Die weite und vielfältige Welt der Inspirationen. Nun beginnt Märchen- und Mythenland. Die Erlebnisse der großen Lippe, die merkwürdigen Menschen, die seine begrenzten Wege kreuzen, die sonderbaren Klänge, die an seine Ohren dringen. Wayne fährt nach Dallas, dort spielen Sonic Youth. Auf dem Konzert in Dallas wird Wayne damit konfrontiert, als Teil einer Popgruppe das Leben eines Fans ruiniert zu haben. Glück für den anderen, der nach den Drogen sich selbst wieder in den Griff bekam.
I mean, there are some weird people. I know. See, it's like you talk about the LSD thing, because people do. People come to our shows, and they get out of their heads. I mean, they don't know if we're playing or not. They come up and say, oh, you were great. And it's like, well, you wouldn't know if we were playing or not. They're so out of it, you know. I ran into a guy. I went down to Dallas to see Sonic Youth, I guess 2 months ago or something. I ran into this guy, and he came up and he told me, it was like, you know, I saw you guys 4 years ago. We were coming to see you guys. And you ruined our lives. It's like me and my friends would come to your show and we would take so much acid. And he said, and I wasn't ready for it. I couldn't handle it. And he told me it really messed up his life. And I said, well, are you okay now? And he said, yeah, I'm okay now. I found Jesus. So I said, okay, you know. He went from one drug to the other. You know, I don't know. But, so, yeah.
I Found Jesus. Seit einigen Platten der Flaming Lips finden wir Jesus immer wieder aufs Neue. Wer jetzt an Blasphemie denkt, weit gefehlt. Eher Verdauungsprozess von selektiver Wahrnehmung. Die Art der Wahrnehmung von gottgegebenen Songs beispielsweise, die so gut wie nicht von dieser Welt sind. Jesus-Songs also. Das Großmaul gibt ihnen Nummern von 1 bis N für unendlich. Jesus, das Wort bedeutet für Wayne das Gute dieser Welt. Das russische Sahnetörtchen oder ein Sonnentag. Jim Morrison oder die Dinge, die man gut findet, genießt und darüber schweigt.
You know, I can relate to people if they believe in the Lord and all that stuff. It's like, go for it, because people have to have something. You know, you take away all their stuff, they may as well kill themselves. You know, and I just think that Jesus is just everybody knows what you're talking about when you say Jesus. You know. And it's just one of those words. To me, it doesn't mean Jesus, a person, the religion and all that. Jesus can be Jim Morrison, you know. It's a lot of stuff.
Fetish or something.
Yeah, you know. And so when I say Jesus, I mean just good shit, you know. To me, Jesus is just like a good day, you know, a good way to look at things, you know. But none of us are like religious or anything. So we can throw that stuff around. It doesn't mean anything to us, you know.
So who came up with this Jesus series? I mean, the whole collection of Jesus songs.
Well, we always, when we're doing songs, when you're like doing a record, you'll do a song, and then whoever is the technician, he has to write stuff down. Well, what was that song called? And we don't know what we're going to call them. I mean, we just write them and play them and have to think of a title later when you're going to do a record. So all of our songs end up being Jesus songs, because we think, oh, that's just the greatest song in the world. God smiled on us. That's what we think of all of our songs. It's just the greatest, biggest, best thing that ever happened, you know. So when they ask, it's like, that's a Jesus song. So it was Jesus song number 5. And then it would be Jesus song. All of our songs are Jesus songs. So when we were going through the titles, it was like, all right, this is Jesus song number 5. What are you going to call it? Then we have to come up with a title, and we just thought, well, some of those really worked with the songs to say Jesus song number 5, Shine On, Sweet Jesus, you know.
Die Lippen in dieser Welt, Shine On Sweet Jesus, Jesus Song Number 5, hat wieder mit einem von Waynes sonderbaren Kontakten mit der Realität zu tun. Dass gewisse Dinge passieren, wissen wir. Dass sie gewöhnlicher amerikanischer Alltag sind, so wie es uns einige Bands glauben machen wollen, dazu scheinen diese Bands oft ein wenig zu abseits vom gewöhnlichen Alltag leben zu wollen.
Shine On, that story, okay? We were playing in San Antonio, and it was a really weird night. There was a lot of these Mexican gangs, like gangs in the States. They wear headbands and skinheads and all this stuff. And there was a lot of these guys there. And then there was sort of this other crowd, the LSD crowd, that's just there to, freak out. And these two were right there, and none of them were getting along. It was like the hippies hated the hardcores, and the hardcores hated the hippies, and the punk rockers had just had enough. And it was just like one of these really intense nights, and someone had like a bunch of fireworks.
Die Lippen in San Antonio, ein Konzert vor einer gemischten Menge bestehend aus mexikanischen Skinheads, LSD-Freaks, Hippies und Hardcores. Feuerwerkskörper gehen in die Luft, Mescalwürmer sitzen in den Hirnen, Equipment wird geklaut. Die Lippen flammen noch höher und planen den Repo Man. Kurz vor dem Ablauf des Ultimatums erfahren sie das Lösungswort. Sie werden sich zu dem Plattenladen begeben und sie werden ihr Equipment wiederfinden, aber nicht ihre Ruhe. Ein Hippie auf Trip, und das bereits seit der gesamten Tour, möchte den jungen Göttern sein Leben anvertrauen. Aber die Götter sind müde und der Hippie versteht die Welt nicht mehr. Er spricht von Jesus und setzt nach seinem Geist nun auch seinen Körper in Flammen.
Is in this alleyway over by this record store. Then these fucking weirdo LSD hippie guys that have just been following us from show to show up. And we're like, dudes, we've had enough. Go home. You guys shouldn't be driving your cars or anything. Just go home, leave us alone. And this one guy just couldn't deal with it. We talked to him for a couple minutes. It's like, hey, have a good time, blah, blah, blah. And he just couldn't deal with it. And he had some gasoline out in his car, in his trunk. And he went out in the parking lot and he poured it all around him. He said, if you guys don't talk to me, I'm going to start myself on fire. And we said, oh, okay. And he poured some on his legs. And he said, if you guys don't come down and talk to me, I think you guys are the greatest thing ever. You guys make my life worth living. If you won't come talk to me, I'll kill myself. And we sat up there like, well, whatever. Do whatever you want to do. And we shut the door, and then we looked out there, just like a couple of seconds later. And his legs are on fire. He's sitting there just like, And, we're like, dude, this isn't us. This is like you're doing drugs and you're thinking some weird shit. It's not us. We're just a band. We play. You come and see us. This isn't about us saving your life. This isn't about any of that. And he's out there and his legs are on fire and he's just screaming. And he was saying something like Jesus, shine on sweet Jesus, something Jesus like that,
Except it seems a good reason to kill. Everybody's got their own conceptions, and they always will. These days are needles under my skin. Jesus shooting heroin. at your party and you're playing cards that are numbered, and you got no reason to think it until your chances are uncovered. But tell me that I got to believe in Jesus shooting heroin. Chased a boy right through the heart. In a case of mistaken identities, they put a bullet to his heart.
Die Lippen in der Großstadt. Jesus Shooting Heroin. Das Traumstück der Flaming Lips kommt in Schwarz-Weiß und Gut und Böse, laut und leise. Das Bekennerschreiben für die Ausnahmen des Klischees. Nette Huren gegen verlogene Prediger oder mordende Polizisten. In The Priest-Driven Ambulance wird ein ganz anderes Bild gemalt. Die letzte Chance, nämlich Sünden zu bekennen, aber geringe Chancen, diese Erfahrungen auch zu überleben.
You know, it's just like a fucked up ballad sort of thing. It was just, you know, that line, Jesus shooting heroin. It's just, you know, there's a lot you say that and people think, what do you mean by that? And I don't know, it's just that thing of, you know, a lot of our songs are real quiet and then they're really loud, you know, like within a short time, you know. So with Jesus shooting heroin, it was just like, well, you put the whitest white, the goodest good over here, and the baddest bad over here. You usually think of bad shit coming from drug addicts who shoot heroin. They'll shoot you, they'll kill your mom, you know. So I just thought you'd do this really good with this really bad and just stick them right together. And that's, you know, that's really how people live. People are like that, you know. And the stories are sort of like that. It's about priests who cheat and whores who are nice and police who shoot people.
Priest driving ambulance?
Yeah.
Have you seen one?
No, but it wouldn't, I mean, that title is funny because it's like if you're in a priest-driven ambulance, you're probably dead. I mean, because an ambulance is there to save you, right? They're assuming there's a chance that you're alive, so they're trying to save you. And usually when they bring a priest in, that means you're alive now, but you're gonna be dead. So to have a priest driving the ambulance is just like, you know what I mean? It's like, well, you're already dead, but we're trying to save you anyway. Oh, really? That makes a lot of sense.
This man came up to me just the other day. He asked me if I'd been born again. told him I didn't think I had, that I had been rejected. But I think hell's got all the good bands anyway.
Oh, that's a good one, huh? Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Well, that's just, you know, it's really like that's us, you know. There's a lot of that. You living in Oklahoma, there's a lot of that religious background. People take that really serious, you know. And I was at the bus station, and I was waiting for the bus. I just got off the bus. I was waiting for someone to come pick me up. And at the bus stations, I guess it's the same everywhere. At the bus stations, there's always these Jesus freaks that come up and they hand you these pamphlets. Hey, read this, you know, and have you heard of the Lord and all this? And I get that all the time. I guess we just look like Satan.
You need it.
Yeah, like we need it, because we get it all the time. People just come up and hand it to you.
Die Lippen zu Hause in Oklahoma. Wayne steht an der Bushaltestelle und schlägt die Zeit tot. Er unterhält sich mit einem guten Menschen, der ihn retten und bekehren will. Doch es kommt ganz anders. Wayne überzeugt den anderen, nämlich davon, dass für den extrem lebenden Menschen, also den Musiker als solcher, nur die Hölle erträglich ist. Eingereiht in die schwitzende Reihe der Helden Hendrix und Morrison, ein schwitzendes Großmaul.
In your eyes are in hell, you know. All the good bands that have ever done anything that's any good are burning in hell at this very moment, you know. Jimi Hendrix, Jim Morrison, all those guys did drugs, had sex, fucking did everything they wanted to do. And by the end of it, he was like, you know, you're right, you know. It seems like you can't really live any kind of life if you aren't gonna, like, burn in hell for it, you know. So that was just the moral of the story. It's like hell's got all the good bands anyway. And if you got to go to heaven, it'd probably be fucking boring. And if you're a band, you sure as hell don't want to go to heaven, you know. You want to. That's why rock and roll exists. That's why bands exist, to show people it's like this is life, and like this is an extreme life. It's not for everybody, but you know you can look at it and say, wow, that's what it's all about, you know. But he liked it. He knew that I wasn't just like some Satan worshiper or anything, and he sort of looked at it like, yeah, I think you're right, you know. And then he went to the next guy and tried to save him, you know.
Die Lippen auf dem Highway zwischen San Diego und Oklahoma. Ein Autounfall war die Eingebung zu There You Are. Das Zirpen der das Wrack freundlich umgebenden Zikaden kennt ihr bereits.
There you are, and you stand in the rain, and the rain fills your brain, and it makes you think that God was fucked up when he made this town. There you stand with your bleeding hands, and you don't understand why you work so goddamn hard to be anything at all. wish for the stars, and you end up face down in the road, dead as fuck.
So we're in the studio with doing all these other songs and stuff. And I had this song. It's just me playing guitar, you know. And at the end of the song, it talks about, you know, seeing a guy who's been run over by a car. And we saw it. We were playing in San Diego or something like that. We're driving. It's 4 o'clock in the morning. And we saw this wreck that had just happened. We always talk about death. It just seems
Die Lippen flammen in San Diego. Bevor sie das tun, sehen sie auf dem Highway einen Autounfall und das tote Opfer. Abgebrüht wie sie sind, scheint ihnen das nichts auszumachen. Sie spielen einen ganz normalen Gig. Aber immer wieder taucht das Bild des Unfalls vor ihren Augen auf. Eines Tages entscheidet Wayne im Studio, einen Song daraus zu machen. 24 Mikrofone werden entlang eines Highways aufgebaut. Ein Verlängerungskabel verbindet das Nichts, die vorbeirauschenden Trucks, die zirpenden Zikaden und den klampfenden Wayne am Straßenrand mit dem stromliefernden Metzgerladen in der Nähe.
So we took this big old portable DAT machine and 24 microphones, and we went out to the side of the highway. And we got a bunch of extension cords and we ran them around the back of this grocery store into one of those, you know, those rides that are in front, those little horses that you sit on. And those crickets, you hear crickets and all that, you know, it's in the middle of the summer and crickets are going.
Do you do that often, record in weird places?
Yeah, I mean, we try, you know, but for the most part, you know, there just isn't the time to do it. It takes a lot of time, takes a lot of people, you know. To have 24 microphones, it costs a lot of money on the side of a highway. People are like, oh, I don't know.
Wayne und Mike in Oklahoma im heimischen Wohnzimmer. Dingus befindet sich mit seiner Gitarre im Bad. Merkwürdige, faszinierende Geräusche kommen aus dem Badezimmer. Irgendwann siegt die Neugier. Dingus steht in der Badewanne und wirft Wasser gegen die Drahtseiten seiner Gitarre. Nein, es geht nicht um das Können, es geht um das Spielen. Wir bauen eine Soundburg.
And he was getting water, and he was just throwing it on his guitar while it was plugged in. And he's just throwing water, and it's hitting it, and it's making all these electronic shit. It's all happening, grounding out. But when you're sitting in the room hearing it, it's like, oh, that's great. I don't know how he's doing it, but that's great. And then we walk in there, and he's standing there, and like, you know, he's in water, and his amp's over there, and the whole thing is just like. But it's like these great sounds. It's not about playing, you know. It's about, wow, there's this sound that I want to do, you know. It's just a mess.
What happened to this poor old piano?
Yeah.
What song was it again?
Yeah, that's on Love Your Brain. Yeah. See, that's when we have like these ideas and they don't always work. That's horrible, really. But we had this piano. There's a studio in Dallas that we were recording at, and they had Stevie Nicks had Elton John, and Stevie Nicks had recorded some songs there, okay? And Elton John had given Stevie Nicks this.
Die Flaming Lips, schon wieder in Dallas, diesmal im Studio. Das vermeintlich schwarze alte Piano vom Sperrmüll ist, nein war, ein weißes, neues Piano im Studio, in dem sowohl die Flaming Lips als auch Stevie Nicks ihre kreativen Schübe umsetzen. Stevie Nicks hatte es als kleine Geste von Elton John geschenkt bekommen. Die Neugier der Lippen aber ist geweckt. Wie klingt ein Piano, wenn man es zerhackt, anstatt darauf zu spielen? Es klingt ziemlich fade. Mit dem dünnen Ergebnis kommt die entsprechende Erkenntnis. Klassische Instrumente sind eigentlich dafür da, um darauf zu spielen und ihre Bestimmung nicht als Kleinholz zu enden.
Set up the microphones. There was only one engineer, and he was going to quit anyway, and he didn't really care. And so it just happened, and we paid them a lot of money anyway. We paid them a lot of money to record and everything. So it was all just kind of one of those. It's funny. But it's not too funny.
Not really. I mean, it costs a lot of money.
Well, it didn't cost as much as you'd think. Elton John, Stevie Nicks. It wasn't like as much as everybody would think, you know. But it was a nice piano, and that was sort of the point, is to smash. It's that thing, you know, when people smash, like, you know, classic instruments and stuff like that. They're not made to be smashed. They're made to be played, you know. And, I don't know, we just thought it was a weird idea just to smash it, just see what it would sound like. Crank it up. But that's the idea. I mean, you think about it, you probably think it would be like blam, blam, crying, crying. But it doesn't. In like 2 or 3 hits, the whole thing is destroyed. And then it's just a big pile of wood, you know, with that big steel thing in there. But that's what you get. I mean, that's what we